In this world, the most ridiculous and saddening thing is not poverty and hardship, but blind judgment and misplaced admiration. Countless people are easily fooled by superficial appearances, sweet words, and fake halos, while ignoring the sincere and powerful people who hide in the ordinary. They abandon the sincere people who truly treat them well, chase after vain and fake glamour, and even humiliate and trample on those who keep a low profile until the truth is revealed and they fall into endless regret and despair. Lynching First People's Hospital is the highest grade tertiary class a general hospital in the entire city, known as the life barrier of millions of citizens. It gathers the most authoritative medical experts, advanced medical equipment, and top clinical medical resources in the region. Countless patients from surrounding cities rush here every year, hoping to get treatment from senior experts and save their lives. In the eyes of ordinary people, the doctors working in this top hospital are all noble and respectable medical elites. Among them, young doctors with handsome looks and gentle temperaments are even regarded as the most ideal marriage partners by countless young women, symbolizing stability, decency, and a promising future. Yi Haoren is a young resident doctor working in the emergency department of Lynching First Hospital. He is handsome, good at talking, and always pretends to be humble and dedicated on the surface. He often posts so-called hard-working medical videos and compassionate patient stories on social platforms, packaging himself as a grassroots, dedicated medical genius with lofty medical ethics. In fact, Yi Haoren is a complete fake doctor with no real medical skills at all. He relied on his family's connections and money to buy his job compilation, copied other people's medical papers to win honors, and relied on flattering leaders and pretending to be hardworking to gain a good reputation. All his so-called medical achievements are fake, and he has never independently completed a formal difficult operation. Even the common disease diagnosis often relies on checking textbooks and asking senior doctors. But in the eyes of my fiancée, Su Wanqing, Yi Haoren is the most perfect and outstanding elite in the world, as Su Wanqing is a beautiful and conceited white-collar worker in a financial company. She has always been vain and eager for quick success, obsessed with the so-called elite halo and decent career. She has long been dissatisfied with my ordinary and low-key life, thinking that I have no ambition, no decent job title, and can't give her the glamorous life she craves. For half a year, Su Wanqing has been secretly in close contact with Yi Haoren. She was deeply attracted by Yi Haoren's fake elite aura, deceived by his sweet words and fake medical honors. She firmly believed that Yi Haoren was a promising medical genius who could soar to great heights in the future, while I was just a mediocre ordinary person who could only live a plain and trivial life. She never knew that the mediocre boyfriend she despised, the ordinary man she abandoned for a fake doctor, is Chun Yi, the world's top hidden medical god who has saved countless national leaders and top tycoons. My medical skills are unparalleled in the world. I have mastered inherited ancient divine medical skills combined with the most cutting-edge international medical technology, able to cure terminal illnesses that global top hospitals and authoritative experts cannot solve, reverse critical dying conditions, and heal intractable diseases that have plagued the medical field for decades. 3 years ago, I was invited to treat the seriously ill national leaders of multiple countries, successfully saving their lives and stabilizing the political situation of many regions. I have treated countless world-class billionaires, top scientists, and entertainment superstars, and every person I have treated has promised me endless gratitude and supreme privileges. I hold the highest honorary medal of the Global Medical Association, the Supreme Lifetime Achievement Award in the international medical field, and am the only Chinese medical god ranked first in the global hidden medical power list. Countless top hospitals around the world offer me annual salaries of hundreds of millions of dollars to hire me as a lifelong chief medical advisor, but I have always refused all high-profile invitations and chose to return to my hometown Lynching to live a low-key, ordinary life. I hide my supreme medical identity, never show off my achievements and honors, and live an ordinary life just to pursue a plain and simple life. I work in a small traditional Chinese medicine clinic with a monthly salary of less than $1,000, wear ordinary clothes, and live in a simple rental house. I thought I could exchange my sincerity for a long-term relationship with my fiancée, Su Wanqing, but I never expected that my low profile would be misunderstood as incompetence, my sincerity would be trampled on as mediocrity, and I would be cruelly abandoned and humiliated for a fake medical elite. Tonight is our scheduled engagement anniversary dinner. I prepared a carefully customized engagement gift and wanted to discuss our marriage plans with Su Wanqing. But she brought the fake Dr. Yi Haoren to the dinner on her own initiative, publicly broke off our engagement in front of everyone, humiliated me wantonly, praised the fake doctor's so-called excellence, and completely crushed my dignity in public. They laughed at my ordinary job, mocked my poor income, and despised my low-key life. They thought I was a useless loser who could never compare with a glamorous hospital doctor. They never dreamed that the fake elite they admired was just a mediocre imposter, while the ordinary loser they abandoned was the supreme medical god that the whole world respects. Hashtag Chapter 1 Stacked Humiliation, Public Abandonment, and Wanton Ridicule. The high-end French restaurant on the top floor of Lynchern Global Center is the most luxurious dating venue in the city. IT has a consumption threshold that ordinary people can hardly afford. A single set meal costs thousands of dollars, and only wealthy elites and high-end white-collar workers often come here for consumption. I booked the most exclusive private window seat here a week in advance, preparing to spend our 2-year engagement anniversary with Su Wanqing. I took off work early, cleaned up neatly, and held a carefully prepared custom diamond bracelet, looking forward to a warm dinner and a smooth discussion of our marriage matters. Su Wanqing arrived 10 minutes late, but she was not alone. Beside her stood a tall and young man in a white doctor's uniform with a work card hanging on his chest, a gentle smile on his face, and an elite temperament that he deliberately pretended to have. It was Yi Haoren, the emergency department doctor of Lynching First Hospital. As soon as Su Wanqing walked into the private room, she didn't have the slightest gentle look she used to have. Her face was cold and indifferent, and she directly pulled Yi Haoren to sit opposite me, completely ignoring my existence. I frowned slightly, put down the gift box in my hand, and asked softly, "Wanqing, who is this? Why did you bring someone else to our anniversary dinner?" Su Wanqing raised her chin, her eyes full of disgust and contempt for me, and said bluntly without any hesitation, "Jenny, let's break off the engagement. We are not suitable for each other at all." These words were like a sharp ice blade, piercing straight into my heart. I was slightly stunned, staring at the cold-faced woman in front of me. "What do you mean? We have been together for 2 years, and the marriage date has been set. Why do you suddenly say break off the engagement?" "Because you are too mediocre, too useless." Su Wanqing sneered sharply, her words full of undisguised disdain. Hey, look at yourself. You work in a shabby, traditional Chinese medicine clinic all day, with a meager salary that can't even afford a decent luxury bag for me. You wear cheap clothes, live in a rental house, and have no connections, no future, no ambition. What's the point of being with you, following you? I can only live a poor and trivial life for a lifetime. I am young and beautiful, with a decent job and good looks. I deserve a better and more outstanding man. I stared at her and asked in a deep voice, "So the better man you were talking about is him?" Yi Haoren smiled faintly, pretending to be humble and gentle, but his eyes were full of arrogance and superiority. He patted Su Wanqing's hand gently, looked at me condescendingly, and said in a pretentious tone, "Brother Chin, don't be too sad. Feelings depend on compatibility. Wanqing is an excellent and ambitious girl. She can't waste her youth on an ordinary person with no future like you. I work in the city's top tertiary hospital, with a stable job, a decent social status, and a promising career. I can give Wanqing a glamorous life, allow her to mix in the elite circle, and let her be envied by others. What can you give her?" Su Wanqing's eyes were full of admiration for Yi Haoren, and she took the initiative to hold Yi Haoren's arm, mocking me even more unscrupulously. Haoren is a formal doctor in a tertiary Class A hospital, a real social elite. He has won many medical excellence awards, and the leaders in the hospital value him highly. His future is boundless. Unlike you, who can only fiddle with some old traditional Chinese medicine in a small clinic all day, with no achievements and no connections. You are just a small, ordinary person at the bottom of society. The gap between you and Haoren is wider than the sky. From today on, I am Haoren's girlfriend. We have already confirmed our relationship. I came here today just to tell you clearly that our engagement is completely cancelled. Don't pester me anymore in the future. You are not worthy of me at all." Yi Haoren took out his mobile phone proudly, flipped through the so-called medical award certificates and work photos on it, and showed them off in front of me on purpose. "Brother Chen, I know you work hard, but some gaps are innate. You work in a small clinic, and you will never understand the height of our medical elites. I usually rescue critically ill patients, perform professional surgical operations, and enjoy the respect of patients and families. Every day I am improving and climbing up the social ladder. But you can only treat some minor colds and pains all day, and you'll never have a chance to touch the high-end medical circle. To be honest, I feel quite sympathetic to you. It's not easy for you to make money. Don't waste your time on futile feelings. Find an ordinary girl who matches your status, and live an ordinary life. Wanqing is not someone you can afford." Their one-sided mocking and trampling kept coming, and the entire private room was filled with their arrogant and disdainful voices. Many guests in the surrounding seats heard the movement, and turned their heads to watch the excitement. They pointed at me and whispered, their eyes full of ridicule and pity, as if I was a poor loser who was abandoned for being incompetent. Facing the public humiliation of my fiancé and the deliberate showing off of this fake doctor, I suppressed the anger in my heart and asked calmly, You think he is an elite doctor with superb medical skills and a promising future? Of course. Su Wanqing replied without hesitation, her tone firm. Howard is the most outstanding young doctor in the hospital. Everyone says he is a medical genius. He is gentle, responsible, and has real talents. He is much better than you, a mediocre traditional Chinese medicine clerk. Yi Haoran raised the corners of his mouth proudly and said arrogantly, I don't dare to say that my medical skills are top tier, but at least I am a formal medical practitioner who has passed formal assessment and holds professional qualifications. Unlike some people who work in unregulated small clinics and fool ordinary people with unreliable old methods. These words completely touched my bottom line. I have always respected every formal medical practitioner who heals the wounded and rescues the dying. But I hate the most this kind of fake doctor who occupies public medical resources, pretends to be an elite, has no real skills, and dares to slander real medical inheritance. This Yi Haoran, who relies on connections and pretends to gain a reputation, dares to show off in front of me, a world-class medical god, and slander traditional Chinese medicine that he doesn't understand at all. And Su Wanqing, who has been with me for 2 years, can't see through the essence of people at all. She abandons her sincere lover and clings to a vain fake elite, and even humiliates me wantonly in public for this fake. Since they are so obsessed with this fake doctor's halo, so disdainful of my ordinary identity, and so arrogant with false superiority, I will completely expose his true face today, crush their false glory with absolute strength, and let them pay a painful price for their snobbery and blindness. Hashtag Chapter 2 Sudden Crisis. Fake doctor panics in the face of critical illness. Just as the atmosphere in the private room was extremely stiff and the two of them were still mocking me unscrupulously, a sudden chaotic noise came from the restaurant hall outside. Doctor. Is there a doctor here? Someone is fainting. Hurry up and save people. Uncle, wake up. Don't scare us. Please, is there any medical staff present? Panic shouts and noisy crowd noises spread from the hall, instantly attracting the attention of all the guests in the restaurant. Su Wanqing and Yi Haoran also stopped their ridicule and looked towards the hall curiously. Soon, everyone saw an elderly man in a suit lying straight on the restaurant floor, his face pale, his lips purple, his whole body twitching slightly, and his breathing extremely weak. His family members were crying and shouting for help, extremely flustered and helpless. The surrounding guests were all ordinary people, and no one had professional medical knowledge, and no one dared to act casually for fear of causing more serious consequences. Everyone could only watch anxiously and shout for a doctor. At this critical moment, Su Wanqing's eyes suddenly lit up. She immediately pushed Yi Haoran forward and shouted loudly to the surrounding crowd, Everyone don't panic. This is Dr. Yi Haoran from Linqing First People's Hospital, a professional medical elite. He can save people. She turned her head and looked at Yi Haoran adoringly. Haoran, hurry up and save the old man. Let everyone see your superb medical skills. Yi Haoran's expression froze slightly. He didn't expect such an accident to happen suddenly. But under the gaze of the entire restaurant's guests and Su Wanqing's expectant eyes, he couldn't back down at all. Once he backed down, his elite doctor persona would completely collapse. He could only bite the bullet, pretend to be calm, and walk towards the fainting old man slowly, putting on a professional doctor's posture. The surrounding crowd immediately made way for him, and everyone looked at him expectantly, thinking that this professional hospital doctor could definitely rescue the elderly patient. Yi Haoran squatted down, pretended to check the old man's pupils and breathing, but his hands were shaking slightly. He had no experience in dealing with sudden critical illnesses at all, and his mind was completely blank. He randomly touched the old man's pulse, then pretended to be solemn and said in a deep voice, The patient has acute hypoglycemia syncope. Quickly prepare sugar water and let the patient rest flat. He will recover soon. As soon as these words came out, the family members immediately prepared to find sugar water. But I stood up slowly from my seat, my voice cold and powerful, resounding clearly throughout the noisy restaurant. Wrong. This is not hypoglycemia syncope at all. Your diagnosis is completely wrong. Yi Haoran's body stiffened instantly, and he turned his head to stare at me fiercely, with a guilty and flustered look in his eyes, but he still forced himself to be arrogant. What do you know? You are just a small traditional Chinese medicine clerk who treats minor illnesses. I am a professional doctor in a tertiary hospital, and my diagnosis is more accurate than yours. Don't talk nonsense and delay the patient's condition. Su Wanqing also immediately echoed and mocked. Chin Yi, don't be ignorant. How can you question Haoran's professional diagnosis with your amateur medical skills? You are just jealous that Haoran is excellent and wants to steal the limelight. Don't mess around and kill people. The surrounding crowd also looked at me with doubtful and disapproving eyes, thinking that I was deliberately making trouble and questioning professional medical knowledge out of jealousy. I walked slowly to the patient's side, my eyes sharp and calm, and I pointed out the problem directly. The patient has purple lips, cold limbs, irregular breathing, and carotid artery pulsation weakness. This is typical acute myocardial infarction combined with cardiac spasm. It is a critical sudden heart disease, not hypoglycemia at all. If we follow your wrong diagnosis and feed sugar water now, it will increase the burden on the patient's heart, accelerate cardiac failure, and cause instant death. Your so-called professional diagnosis is killing people. These words were like a thunderclap, shocking all the surrounding crowd. The patient's family members were instantly frightened out of their wits, and they hurriedly stopped the people who were preparing sugar water, looking at Yi Haoren with horror and anger. Yi Haoren's face turned pale in an instant, and cold sweat broke out on his forehead. He didn't expect that his random wrong diagnosis would be directly exposed by me. He panicked completely, but still refused to admit his mistake, and shouted stubbornly, "You are talking nonsense. I've seen countless patients, and my diagnosis is definitely right. You are misleading everyone. You have no professional medical qualifications, no formal medical experience, and you dare to question my diagnosis casually. You are simply reckless and ignorant." Su Wanqing also stood firmly beside Yi Haoren, glaring at me and scolding. "Chen Yi, you are too vicious. You actually slander Haoren's medical skills in public. Do you want to cause trouble? If something happens to the patient, can you afford the responsibility?" I ignored their frantic sophistry, squatted down quickly, and made accurate and fast first aid movements with my hands. My movements were smooth, professional, and precise, with a standard and sophisticated posture that ordinary doctors could never master. I quickly pressed the patient's specific heart-rescuing acupoints with my fingers, matched with precise external force massage techniques, and assisted with professional breathing guidance. Every movement hit the key point of the lesion accurately without any deviation. In just 10 seconds, the old man's twitching body stopped shaking, his breathing gradually became stable, and his pale and purple lips slowly recovered their blood color. 20 seconds later, the old man slowly opened his eyes, let out a long breath, and regained consciousness completely. I'm awake. The old man is awake. It's really a heart problem. This young man saved his life. The hospital doctor just diagnosed it wrong. Fortunately, this guy stopped him in time, otherwise it would be a disaster. The entire restaurant burst into loud exclamations and cheers. All the crowd looked at me with shock and admiration, completely reversing their previous prejudice against me. The patient's family members knelt down excitedly on the spot, tears of gratitude streaming down their faces, and kept thanking me. "Thank you so much. Doctor, you saved our old man's life. You are our benefactor." In an instant, Yi Haoren's face was as pale as paper, and his whole body was trembling violently. His perfect professional doctor persona was completely shattered in public. The wrong diagnosis that almost killed someone made him become a public laughingstock in an instant. Su Wanqing's expression was also completely stiff. She stared at the scene in front of her in a daze, unable to believe that the fake elite she admired so much was actually a quack doctor who couldn't even distinguish basic illnesses, while the mediocre boyfriend she abandoned had such superb first aid medical skills. Hashtag Chapter 3 Explosive Reversal. The abandoned ordinary man is a global medical god. Just as the crowd was cheering and thanking me, a large group of luxury vehicles quickly stopped at the entrance of the restaurant. A team of people in neat black suits rushed in quickly, followed by a group of senior medical experts wearing professor uniforms and holding medical equipment. Walking at the front was the top leader of Linqing First People's Hospital, Dean Zhou Zhenghua, who is the highest-ranking medical authority in the entire city, a professor and doctoral supervisor in the national medical field, and a highly respected medical expert who is usually hard to meet. Behind him were the hospital's vice deans, chief physicians of various departments, and senior expert teams. Such a luxurious top medical lineup has never appeared together in any public emergency rescue scene in Linqing. All the onlooking citizens were instantly shocked, staring at this grand scene with incredulous eyes, completely unable to understand why the city's top medical leader and all senior experts would rush here in full force. After Dean Zhou entered the door, he didn't look at the rescued patient or the flustered Yi Haoren at all. His eyes swept across the crowd quickly, and when he saw me standing aside, his face instantly showed extreme excitement and reverence. Under the gaze of all the petrified crowd, the usually aloof and dignified top medical authority of the city took quick steps towards me, bent his waist deeply at 90 degrees, bowed respectfully, and shouted in a trembling and extremely reverent voice that echoed throughout the entire restaurant. "Respected Divine Dr. Chen, we have heard that you are here for rescue, and all senior medical staff of the hospital rushed over to greet you. It's our honor to witness your superb medical skills again today." Boom! The entire restaurant completely exploded into earth-shaking uproar. All the guests, family members, and staff were completely petrified on the spot. Their brains went blank, and they fell into unprecedented extreme shock. Dean Zhou Jinghua, the most authoritative medical expert in the city, who is respected by everyone, actually bowed respectfully to the ordinary young man who works in a small traditional Chinese medicine clinic. And he called him Divine Dr. Chen. Yi Haoren's legs went weak with a thud, and he slumped heavily to the ground, his whole body trembling like a sieve. The last trace of arrogance on his face completely collapsed, replaced by endless fear and despair. Su Wanqing's body froze rigidly in place, her eyes wide open, staring at me in disbelief. Her mind was completely confused, and all her previous contempt, disdain, and superiority were instantly shattered into pieces. Dean Zhou stood up straight, turned around, and stared fiercely at the trembling Yi Haoren on the ground, his voice cold and majestic, full of anger. Yi Haoren, you are just a parallel imported resident doctor who entered the hospital through connections. You have no real medical skills, no professional judgment ability, and you dare to pretend to be an elite doctor in public, misdiagnose critical illnesses, and almost kill innocent people. You usually rely on pretending to be hardworking and flattering leaders to muddle along in the hospital, plagiarize other people's papers to defraud honors, and occupy public medical resources indiscriminately. You have completely lost the bottom line of a medical worker and brought shame to our hospital. After scolding Yi Haoren, Dean Zhou immediately turned around, faced all the crowd, and solemnly announced my identity to everyone present, with a tone full of supreme respect. Let me solemnly introduce to everyone. This Mr. Chen Yi in front of us is the world's top hidden medical god, the supreme medical expert who has saved countless critical patients and national leaders. Divine Dr. Chen has won the Global Lifetime Medical Achievement Award, the highest honor in the international medical field. He has treated countless intractable terminal illnesses that global experts cannot cure. Multiple national government leaders and world-class billionaires have personally invited Divine Dr. Chen for treatment. Our Lynching First Hospital has repeatedly invited Divine Dr. Chen to serve as the hospital's lifelong chief medical advisor with a sky-high annual salary, but Divine Dr. Chen has always kept a low profile and refused all high-profile positions. He usually works in a small traditional Chinese medicine clinic just to experience ordinary life. The superb first aid technique just now is the unique exclusive medical skill of Divine Dr. Chen, which no expert in our entire country can master. The so-called elite doctors in our hospital are not even qualified to carry Divine Dr. Chen's medical bags. These sonorous and powerful words were like continuous thunderclaps exploding over everyone's heads, completely shattering all superficial cognition and false prejudice. All the crowd finally woke up completely. The ordinary small clinic doctor they despised, the mediocre boyfriend Su Wanqing abandoned, the loser who was ridiculed for being incompetent, was actually the world's top medical god respected by the city's top medical authority. The fake Dr. Yi Haoren, who was praised as a medical elite, was just a straw bag who relied on connections to muddle along and had no real skills. Su Wanqing's face turned pale and bloodless in an instant. She covered her mouth tightly, and tears of regret burst out of her eyes uncontrollably. She abandoned a supreme medical god who was worth countless fortunes, and clung to a worthless fake quack. All the previous ridicule and contempt turned into the most painful slap in the face at this moment. Her vanity and blindness made her miss the most outstanding man in the world, and she would regret it for the rest of her life. Hashtag Chapter 40 Mercy Cleanup, complete collapse of fake elite and vanity love. Faced with the desperate Yi Haoren and the tearful and regretful Su Wanqing, I had no slightest pity in my heart. Feelings that are based on vanity and superficial status are not worthy of my attention. People who can't see through the essence of things and blindly chase fake halos are destined to pay the price for their blindness. I looked at Dean Zhou beside me and issued a cold and decisive order. Completely investigate Yi Haoren's entry qualifications, work achievements, and honor records. Verify all his plagiarized papers and fake awards. Immediately dismiss him from the hospital, permanently blacklist him in the national medical industry, prohibit him from engaging in any medical-related work for life, and publicly announce his misdeeds to the whole city so that everyone can know his true face as a fake doctor. At the same time, comprehensively sort out the hospital's entry assessment mechanism, thoroughly clean up all relationship households and fake elite staff who have no real skills, rectify the hospital's work atmosphere, and never allow this kind of quack doctor to occupy public medical resources and endanger patients' lives again. Yes, I will strictly implement all your instructions. I will thoroughly rectify the hospital atmosphere and severely punish all unqualified staff. Dean Zhou bowed respectfully and responded loudly, not daring to have the slightest hesitation. In less than 10 minutes, the hospital's official announcement was released to the public. Yi Haoren was officially dismissed on the spot, all his fake honors were cancelled, and his name was added to the national medical industry permanent blacklist. From then on, he was completely banned from the medical industry, and his so-called elite medical career was completely ruined overnight. All his past misdeeds of plagiarizing papers, buying qualifications, and flattering leaders were exposed to the public, becoming the biggest medical scandal in lynching this year. He became a well-known fake quack in the whole city, was spurned by everyone, and could never hold his head up in society again. After losing his hospital job and elite status, all his relatives and friends cut off contact with him. He completely fell from the so-called elite circle to the bottom of society and could only engage in the most ordinary grassroots labor work for a living. After Yi Haoren's fate was settled, Su Wanqing completely collapsed. She stumbled towards me, tears streaming down her face, and knelt down in front of me, kowtowing repeatedly to beg for mercy. Chen-Yi, I'm wrong. I'm blind and superficial. I didn't know your true identity. I was deceived by Yi Haoren's fake appearance and vanity. I regret it so much. Please forgive me. Let's get back together. I will never be vain again. I will treat you well for the rest of my life. Looking at her embarrassed and regretful appearance, I only felt extremely indifferent. I said coldly, Su Wanqing, feelings are never a game that can be restarted at will. You abandoned me when I was low-key and ordinary, and humiliated me wantonly for a fake elite. Now that you know my identity and regret it, it's too late. You love vanity and pursue superficial glory, but you can't see the most precious sincerity and strength. You are not worthy of my sincerity, let alone my identity. From the moment you took the initiative to break off the engagement and humiliate me in public, our fate has been completely broken. From today on, we are strangers forever. Don't pester me again. After saying that, I turned around and left without looking back, leaving Su Wanqing kneeling on the ground, crying bitterly and falling into endless despair. Soon after, Su Wanqing's snobbish behavior of abandoning her fiancé for a fake doctor and the whole story of this incident were spread in her company and social circle. Everyone knew her vanity and blindness, and all her colleagues and friends alienated her one after another. She lost her job due to the bad reputation, completely lost her social connections, and became a laughingstock in the circle. From a glamorous white-collar elite, she fell into a lonely and desolate situation, spending every day in endless regret and self-blame. Hashtag Chapter 5 Final Ending. Sincerity surpasses vanity. Strength defeats falsehood. After all the farces ended, the restaurant returned to a peaceful atmosphere. All the crowd looked at my back with endless awe and admiration. Dean Zhou and all the senior medical experts stood respectfully on both sides, sending me off respectfully all the way, forming a supreme honor guard exclusive only to me. Walking out of the luxurious restaurant, looking at the bright night scene of the city, my heart was extremely calm. I have always believed that true strength never needs deliberate showing off, and true excellence never relies on superficial halo packaging. In this materialistic society, many people are confused by false appearances and vain reputations. They blindly pursue so-called elite status and glamorous careers, look down on ordinary and low-key people, and even abandon sincerity and kindness for vanity. But they don't know that many ordinary-looking people hide unparalleled strength and noble hearts. Those who rely on pretense and vanity to gain glory will eventually collapse in front of the truth. Yi Haoren's ending tells everyone that fake glory can never last. Without real talent and down-to-earth efforts, no matter how perfect the pretense is, it will eventually be exposed and fall into ruin. Su Wanqing's ending warns everyone that vanity and blindness are the biggest taboos in life. Blindly chasing superficial glamour and ignoring sincere feelings will only make you miss the best people and fall into eternal regret. I keep a low profile not because I am incompetent, but because I disdain to compete for trivial vanity. I hide my identity not because I have no strength, but because I value plain sincerity more. Medical skills are used to heal the wounded and rescue the dying, not to show off and gain vanity. Life is for down-to-earth struggle and sincere companionship, not for chasing false glory and superficial class. In the days to come, I will still stick to my original intention, keep a low profile, practice medicine benevolently, use my supreme medical skills to save more patients, and pass on positive medical ethics and values. And those who are arrogant because of false glory, regret because of blind choice, and lose themselves in vanity will eventually bear all the bitter consequences of their own choices. Always remember, never judge a person's value by superficial appearance and temporary status. The most precious things in the world are always hidden in ordinary sincerity and unassuming strength.